Is culinary school worth it? Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about whether or not you really should attend culinary school and whether or not you should just work in a restaurant. How's it going, fellow foodies? If you are new to the channel, my name is Paul. I have been a chef for about 14 years now, and I did attend culinary school and graduated back in 2007. The world has changed a lot since then, but culinary school seems to be this one constant that a lot of people have contention with. It's expensive, it may not be the right career path for a lot of people, and you do have to understand that it is a crazy amount of work. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is the tuition cost for a lot of culinary schools and private schools in general. When I attended Art Institute, I paid about $25,000 per year, and I did a 2-year program which was year-round, which resulted in my associate's degree in culinary science. This also came with random math and history classes for some reason that I probably shouldn't have paid for, but the overall culinary experience was great regardless of the price. The biggest issue I have with the cost of culinary school, and something that you should strongly consider, is the potential salary that you can attain after graduating culinary school. The average executive chef and even executive sous chefs, if you want to put them in that category, make around $50,000 to $60,000 on average. When you're talking about a school that is charging you $25,000 per year, that salary doesn't seem like it may be worth it. After paying your $25,000 per year for culinary school and more depending on the school you go to, you can expect to work at a minimum wage, possibly a little bit of a higher paid job after that. My first job out of culinary school was for a hotel, and I ended up making just a little bit over minimum wage, and it was kind of a nice thing. But I do have friends who, for instance, are physical therapists, and out of school, they've made a ton of money, but they also owed a lot more. The cost of the industry should be your #1 priority when you're looking to get into culinary schools. Yes, passion, yes, this and that and the other thing, but my mind straight goes to how much debt will you be in and how quickly can you pay it off. Culinary school is not cheap, but some of the experiences can't be had anywhere else. So if you're like me and you have a passion for food, you have a passion for the industry, a passion for the cultures that surround the food, and you want to cook, for ladies or gentlemen, keep listening. Now here are a few things you can expect when you get into culinary school. You can expect to overpay for your knives and your uniforms and have a really intimate environment based on the school that you go to. We started with our skills program, and the skills program really was about 40 people that ended up being about 20 people a couple of weeks into the program. Back in 2007, it was the era of the Food Network chef, and these chefs who were celebrities in their own right, and these chefs who portrayed a very different image than what you may see in a professional kitchen. A lot of the students I went to school with ended up having that idea in their mind that I'm going to become a celebrity chef, make some really cool sandwiches, and make millions of dollars a year. That doesn't happen. Typically, when you enter culinary school, you're going to have your entire program laid out in front of you. You're going to start with a certain class and end with a certain class. There's a very, very, very good linear progression for how these schools are laid out. For instance, I started in skills class learning how to make sauces and flip beans in a saute pan, and I ended with developing an entire restaurant concept with a full team. Some schools have classes like English and math and sciences that are kind of fit in with the rest of your culinary school, so take that in mind if you do decide to go to a culinary school that doesn't offer those things, which honestly, they're not necessary. Most culinary schools work off of a lab system, and for this you're going to have certain lab hours, and that could be anything from actual lecture time to actual cooking time. At Art Institute, I went to school Monday through Thursday. I also worked full-time, so my schedule was a little chaotic, but your typical Monday involved a lecture for the things you were going to learn throughout the rest of the week. You would lecture for about 4 hours, you would do mise en place for about an hour to an hour and a half, and then the following 2 days would be pure cooking, bliss, enjoyment. No more lectures, just cooking and learning. The other day you may have are going to be for those extra classes like we talked about earlier, the ones that don't really matter. You've gotten this far in the video and you're still with me, and we have been talking about the things you're going to experience in culinary school. Now I want to talk to you guys about, should you go to culinary school? Is that price of tuition worth it? Yes, resounding yes, and here is why. Take culinary school as that saying where your knowledge is an inch deep but a mile wide. It's some kind of a saying where you learn a massive broad spectrum of ideas in culinary design and gastronomy. This is beneficial, and I will tell you why. Throughout my career, I have hired and fired people at any given point in my life, and I know that if I'm looking at 2 applications, this is 4. If I'm looking at 2 applications, one of them has culinary school experience, the other one does not, and everything else is exactly the same. It's a copy and paste, but one of them has culinary experience in a culinary school. I'm going to take that culinary student. That is because I do not have to teach them the basics. I do not have to tell them what a bain-marie is. I do not have to tell them what a hotel pan is. I do not have to explain to them the different depths of hotel pans. I can just say, I need a full 400 pan, and they will go get me one. Time is money, especially in the culinary world. If you want to make yourself more valuable, you can learn those things within a small kitchen, but you're going to learn a very broad spectrum of ideas within school. And the reason why school is far more important than even that is because school will teach you technique. A lot of the time when you work within a restaurant, they'll have you follow recipes. I know as someone who has managed hotels, I would have books and binders filled with recipes that people had to follow. Yes, there was some creative freedoms, and yes, they were able to change it up if things happened on the fly, but for the most part, those recipes had to be followed. This does not allow for a lot of technique learning. I'm always willing to teach someone, but if I don't have to, the better off it is for my pocketbook. In culinary school, you learn technique. You learn about the mother sauces. You learn how to grill. You learn how to fry. You learn how to saute. You learn how to sear. You learn how to bake. You learn how to broil. A lot of the time, you won't necessarily be taught that depending on the restaurant you actually end up working in. For instance, if you work in a cold case deli shop, you're not going to need to learn how to deep fry something properly. In that same token, if you're working in an Irish pub and you do a lot of fish and chips, you may not have to ever cut fish for sushi. Those little bits of information end up adding up to a massive catalog of knowledge. The amount of time it would take you to learn any of that within the field, if you were to spend 1 year working at restaurant after restaurant after restaurant, and you did 5 restaurants for 1 year apiece, yes, you're gonna have good experience, but your experience and your techniques will still be under that of a dedicated culinary student. I've seen it time and time again. I'm telling you from experience. So if you are someone who is chasing that knowledge, chasing the want to expand their own knowledge and their own thinking around cultures of food and the appreciation behind the actual process, culinary school might just be for you. If you want a career where you're fast-paced, you're on your feet all day, you're getting your everything kicked in, this is the career for you. If you like working with a team, if you like enjoying the process of executing a flawless banquet, a night of 300 to 400 covers, a full pool bar where everyone is hustling to get the job done, this is for you. If you want a career where, yes, you enter in at the bottom of the barrel, but the sky is the limit, this is the career for you. I've worked with chefs and sous chefs who make anywhere between $40,000 and $60,000 a year, and I work with executive sous chefs and executive chefs for hotels who make around $250,000 a year. That is no joke. That salary exists. Do you really think the executive chef, or whatever they may be called for Jack in the Box, is only making $60,000 a year? Come on, let's be real with ourselves here. If you take orders well, you have open ears and an open mind for knowledge, this is the career for you. Culinary school can encompass so many things. It doesn't just have to be whether or not you're going to learn about food, because you will. It's whether or not you can make experiences with the people you are with. I still keep in contact with a lot of the chefs I graduated with, and I still keep in contact with a lot of my coworkers I've worked with over the past 10 years. It's hard to find that with a lot of other careers. And now we've made it this far, and now I want to tell you how to find the right culinary school for you. This is going to vary for every single person. For instance, I chose Art Institute because I did enjoy the fact that they had multiple programs within the same school. You had culinary, fashion, graphic design, 3D design, architecture. You had different disciplines that could all potentially work together as they would in the real world. But thinking back on it, especially for the price, I may have looked into a very hyper-focused culinary program, something like CAA or Cordon Bleu. The reason for that is because those schools specialize in the culinary experience, whereas the Art Institute focus on other aspects within the art realm. Do your research, find the school, read reviews, talk to other students. Do not spend $50,000 to $60,000 on school if you have not done your research. Please do not sign up for anything without doing your research. I'm dead serious. You're passionate, you're willing to learn, you have your ears and eyes open, you love food, you love culture, you love learning about other foods and other cultures, you want to make people happy with some wonderful food, and you want to be able to express yourself in an artistic way. Cool. Find the money, go to culinary school. But for those of you who cannot afford culinary school, believe me, I understand. I'm almost done paying off my loan and it's been a very long time. There are some amazing free resources here on the internet. In 2007, I didn't have access to a lot of these things. You have to remember, when I graduated culinary school, when I first started culinary school in 2005, YouTube was just getting started. Think about that. I am old as now in 2020, you're talking about 15 years worth of how to boil an egg video. You can learn so much just here on the platform. Here's what you can do on YouTube. Type in one ingredient, rice. How to make rice. Follow those instructions. It's going to teach you technique, how to boil, how to saute, how to fry, whatever you want to do. That's going to be on you. That's going to be on yourself to learn. Find blogs and vlogs and read them on how to use certain technique, not always recipes. You want to learn technique. Find a local restaurant who's willing to throw you in the dish pit so that way you can gain some knowledge of what it's really like to work in a kitchen. Go wash dishes 1 or 2 days a week, get a feel for the restaurant, ask if you can help with some prep work, start learning that way as well. You may not even be paid for it, but at the same time, you're not owing a culinary school $50,000 or $60,000. And there are a couple of cheaper paid resources you can also take advantage of in 2020. It's kind of insane. Things like Skillshare, Gordon Ramsay's masterclass, and just buying cheaper ingredients, even on Amazon, having them delivered to you and playing with those. There is no limit to the amount of knowledge that actually exists on the internet. If you cannot afford to do a full-blown culinary program and expedite your process to learn, you can teach yourself. I promise you can find someone that is willing to teach you. Join our Discord, ask in there. I try to answer as many questions as possible because my mission here is to really get you guys cooking on a whole new level. Whew, that was a lot. Should you go to culinary school? That's a whole can of worms. But yes, if you can afford it, if you have the money and you're learning, just everything I said. My name is Chef PK. I hope I could teach you something today. Get subscribed and remember, keep playing with your food.